the Sustaining Creativity Podcast. I'm your host, Mari Riesberg. Over the past several years, I've combined my degrees in acting and somatic psychology to share my sustaining creativity techniques with performers. And now I've decided to share it with a bigger audience that includes you. I believe we are all creative, and this podcast is all about that. I'll be interviewing people from all backgrounds, ages, and creativity experiences to share just how creative we all are. Today, I'll be chatting with Emily Rose, a musical theater actress recently turned travel blogger. In 2018, she sold her belongings and began to travel full-time and work around the world. She now shares her adventures on her website, thewanderlustrose.com, and her Instagram account to inspire others to live a life of their dreams. Please enjoy Emily Rose. Welcome to the Sustaining Creativity Podcast. Today, I am here with Emily Rose. She and I met, 5 years ago, 2015.
A long time ago now.
A long time ago at the Colorado Theater Awards called the Henry Awards. Mm-hmm. We had both played the Lady of the Lake in Spamalot at different productions across Colorado. And we were part of, there were like 6 Lady of the Lakes, and we all sang the opening number, and that's where we met. And it was so much fun, and it was great to meet you there. And I'm so glad that you are here today to chat with us about creativity, because you have such a unique, special story, and I'm so excited for you to share it.
Well, thank you.
Well, why don't
It's so good to be here.
Yay! If you wouldn't mind just telling people, our listeners, who you are and what you do so they know where you're coming from.
Awesome. So, like you said, my name is Emily Rose, and I was a full-time musical theater actress for about 26 years. My whole adult life, loved it, loved performing on stage, being in musicals, but always had a desire to travel ever since I was little. I can remember decorating my childhood bedroom with posters of London and pictures from around the world, and just always dreaming of traveling the world. And suddenly I was 26 and I hadn't been anywhere. I hadn't gone any of the places that I dreamed, or, when I was little, I told people that I would visit. And so I kind of just made a big life change, and I sold a whole bunch of my belongings, moved into my suitcase. It's now my home address. And traveled the world for the last 2.5 years and have really been loving every second of it. So
that's amazing. And you've never looked back. I mean, what a huge risk, and how much creativity goes into taking that and making that. I can't wait to chat more about it. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Super. So tell me a little bit about that decision. Like, what happened to make you say, I'm selling all my belongings, I'm putting everything I own in a suitcase, and I'm going to travel the world?
I read this book called The Alchemist, and it's to this day one of my favorite books. And it just talks a lot about pursuing your dreams in the now. Mm-hmm. And what are we waiting for on those dreams? And so I had always wanted to travel, but as an artist, I didn't have some giant trust fund, some huge amount of money allotted to me where I could go on a year-long trip around the world. Mm-hmm. And so it took a lot of creativity and a lot of brainstorming to figure out how me, on my actor's income, was going to make what I thought was originally going to be a 1-year trip around the world happen. So I just started getting creative, and I was like, all right, well, if I'm going to pursue this, I have to go after it in a big way. So sold my stuff, moved into my suitcase, and started finding travel jobs, different volunteer positions around the world. And in the last 2 years, I've now been able to visit over 30 countries, which has been pretty remarkable.
Oh my gosh.
I had I truly did not have the funds saved up for this. I was not, I fully did it myself and found interesting ways to make it work, and it's just been a journey.
Wow. I mean, congratulations. That's a huge feat and took so much trust and willingness to just say, I'm going to do it, and we're going to see what happens. And I trust that everything's going to get taken care of. That's amazing.
Right.
I love it. Well, since having this kind of creative start to this new life path, when you think about creativity, what does creativity mean to you?
I think it's just such an, I feel like as theater artists you can relate to this, but it really impacts every area of your life. And having it at the forefront of your life, creative problem solving, even my lifestyle is non-traditional, living creatively, just being creative in the way you look at problems. Everything from, okay, I don't have money, how am I going to go on this year-long trip? There's a way around this. Being creative is so not just limited to people who are literally standing on stage performing or creating. It's, you know, it's for everybody. And it's yeah, a huge, huge part of my life.
That's wonderful. I completely agree that creativity is for everyone. You can find it in every
Yes.
aspect of your life. It's not just for the
Yes.
performing arts. It's how you get
Right.
dressed. It's how you drive your car to your
Yes.
next location. It's how you cook your meal, you know, whatever. You can look at it through
Right.
that creativity lens. So I love that you live your life in that way. Is this something that's like a new piece since you started traveling? You've incorporated more creativity into your kind of everyday life, or is this something that was happening before?
Yeah, I think I've always lived sort of creatively, you know, doing theater and performing. But I was heading down the route of owning a home, you know, the very much traditional lifestyle that like my sisters live, which is awesome. They have kids and are married at a house and live near my parents, and a super, super traditional lifestyle, which is awesome and super happy for them. But I was like, that maybe isn't what I want. And so when I began to travel and I allowed myself to dig deeper into that creativity and sort of pursue different life paths, I was like, you know, it's okay if I don't want to be married at 25 or own a home or have kids just yet, you know? Like, these are okay things. Even if I grew up in a smaller town where, like, that's sort of the mentality you're instilled with. There's so many different ways to look at life and to look at problems and to think, you know, okay, maybe this isn't how I want to do it. I'll sidestep and try this way.
Yeah, and do something that works for you. That makes sense. I love it. Well, as you were talking, I started thinking about, you know, saying you didn't know where money was coming from to go on this trip. So it sounds like you've had your fair share of challenges that you've had to creatively navigate.
Definitely.
How do you navigate challenges that you face when you're traveling or when you want to do something and you find yourself being blocked?
Yeah, truly just trusting that things are going to work out. There have been some situations where, like, I'm traveling, I'm low on money, or I'm in a country in the Middle East, nobody speaks English. There's these situations where it seems like the odds would be stacked against you, but if you can just tap into that, like, state of being in the moment and grateful and all of these sort of feelings where you're like, you know what, I know this is going to work out, it's going to be okay, and sort of tap into that trust, things, I have found that the universe does sort of reward you with that.
Nice. And I mean, it sounds like you really have a very kind of more optimistic outlook that even if the universe throws a curveball, you see it as more of an adventure and you're going to take it as it comes and it'll turn out.
I have this rule where when something goes wrong, I pause and say, this is good because, and fill in the blank. So whatever it is, I'm stuck in traffic, pause. This is good because, and I come up with why this is a good thing that it's happening. So no matter what it is, you can literally always find something.
Yeah, that's such a great
why it's good.
That's such a great tool to pause and say, this is good because, and find something. It doesn't have to be big. It could be small.
Yeah.
This is good because it gave me a moment to breathe or pause.
Yeah, exactly.
Ask myself how I'm doing in this
moment.
Nice. That's wonderful. So you talked a bit about being a performer for 26 years. And so I imagine creativity has been a pretty big part of your life. But when you think about your earliest memory of being creative, what comes to mind?
I guess I would say playing in our family living room alone, I could entertain myself for hours and hours with toy dolls and toy animals. And my mom has sometimes now as an adult said, I often would check in on you and worry, like, should I be entertaining her more? But this gift of like being able to entertain yourself with your own creativity, that even long before it was put on stage or used as like a craft, you know, so to speak, or a job or any of that stuff, that like childlike wonder of being able to entertain yourself creatively, and just sort of create joy in these little situations. I have memories of that being young. And
yeah. How old were you, do you think?
Gosh, when I remember doing it, probably like 6 or 7, but I know it was like a whole childhood thing.
It happened before. And do you have older siblings?
I have older siblings as well.
Yeah. So it sounds like you had some opportunity to entertain yourself. Well,
yes, absolutely. Very creative playing and sort of, making games out of, very everyday situations and everyday things, as all kids do.
Yeah.
But it's I think, so special and important to hang on to that throughout life, Kids are so good at that naturally, and then we sort of grow up and learn these other expectations and whatnot that change that. So
for sure. Yeah. I remember, trying to hold on to that childhood sense of play that has always been really important to me, and that adults can play too. Our play looks a little bit different, but that we still get to have fantasy play. Like if you really think about it, cosplay or, Comic-Con really is that fantasy play that adults get part of, that looks a little different than kid fantasy play, but still is very much alive in our world today. So I love it. That's amazing. And, when I guess I'm kind of projecting, but I imagine you get inspired by so many different things and to travel and pick new places about where to travel. So what inspires you in your life? How do you cultivate inspiration?
Yeah, I think like all people, I get inspiration from stories. I love books. I love movies. I often find myself reading a book or a movie and then being like, that will be the next place I travel. Wow. Because you get hooked on these stories and like these relatable journeys people go through that we all can relate to. So I think just hearing other people's stories, whether that's through a podcast or through a book and just like, or through music, and being open and listening to those sort of sources of inspiration and stories.
Yeah. What was the last book or movie you watched where you thought, that's the next place I want to go?
Yeah, I think the first one that really made me be like, I'm putting steps into action here was the book I told you about, The Alchemist. It's about a young shepherd boy who goes to Egypt in search of his dream. And Egypt had always been a destination I had been dying to go to, but in the back of my head, it was always like someday I'll go there, one day eventually, but no actionable plan. And I finished that book and I was like, nope, I'm going. It's happening, So I think there's something to be said about like, seeking out sources of inspiration, finding these tales, these books, these music, whatever it is that you can connect with to keep inspiring your next adventure, your next song, your next whatever it is that you're wanting to create. So definitely The Alchemist was a big one for me. Let's see what else was some other. Oh gosh. Reading a really, really great book about trekking up Mount Kilimanjaro, and now the last 2 weeks, all I've been doing is researching how to do it, when to go, all of that kind of stuff. So I think it's good to find people are sources of inspiration that you can kind of tap into.
Nice. And how has it been being that traveling at the moment outside of the United States is on pause? How have you continued to be inspired to travel within the United States?
Yeah, I think I just stopped looking at my hometown as a place that I had always wanted to leave to go traveling. And I started looking at it how other people would see it as a destination, right? Even the place you live that you're dreaming to get beyond is a destination to someone. And so it was really fun to like re-look at my own hometown and my own home state and say, if I was coming here for the first time and I had 2 weeks to explore the state, what would I do, you know?
Yeah.
So doing as much as I could, finding all the best campsites, the best this, the best that, just really, really, really traveling my state in a big way that I never had before. Was really fun and special. I got to bring family members on trips around my home state, and so many people have reached out and thanked me or gone on those same trips, because it is weird sometimes. People don't, you know, they forget to look at their own home.
Yeah.
As that, through that special lens of travel. You know, when we travel, we see things in like a heightened way, but then sometimes we forget to look at our own backyards in that same lens of wonder.
Right. That's amazing. I have actually seen your pictures, and you were recently in Colorado, which is my home state, and seeing your little travels, that was a lot of fun to see, like, oh, wow, look where you are. And to think, oh, I could absolutely go there and experience that. So that was a lot of fun to see as well. And when you think about, because I know you travel by yourself often, and sometimes you have family and sometimes you have friends who come with you, but when you think about your community and how your community influences your creativity, how would you say it does influence or it doesn't influence your creativity?
I think it would be easy to look at other travel blogs or other people who work in the travel industry and feel concerned or like about like, oh, how many followers does this person have, or how many monthly page views does this website get, or it would be easy to fall into the comparison game. But I think I've always tried to view it as just not a competition, and as, wow, if they can do that, so can I. And just that sort of level of like, if that's something that's possible for them, then that's something that's possible for me. And so using the community to get inspiration from other travel bloggers, other people, other travel photographers, instead of a competition, if that kind of makes sense. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think it's so easy for us to fall into the comparison, or, you know, how someone else is doing it. Oh, I should be doing it that way, versus actually the way I'm doing it works for me. Yeah. A friend of mine who I had on the podcast, he has a quote, or it's from someone else, but he says, comparison is the thief of joy. And that seems to kind of ring true in this situation also, of, you know, when you compare yourself to other travel bloggers or travel photographers, it's really dampening down this aspect of your own creativity, your own inspiration and joy that you have from doing something you love to do.
Absolutely. And if you try to remember like what your why is, and you try to make your goal more about helping people and inspiring others to travel, helping others live a more inspirational life, or a life with more adventure, then there is no competition, because other travel bloggers who are also doing that are just also contributing to that goal. You know, instead of making it about like, how successful am I? If your goal is to like connect people through the love of travel, or, you know, whatever it may be, then there's no winning. I don't know.
There's no losing in that. It's designed to continue to propel more joy and more adventure into the world. And that's awesome.
Right. Yep. There's no like, she's a winner and I'm a loser. It's just, we're all contributing to this awesome goal of, you know,
traveling.
Yeah.
And
helping everyone live a more inspired life.
Exactly. I love it. And when I imagine you run across everyday issues that you have to creatively navigate or use creativity to solve on a pretty regular basis when you're traveling. And what are some of the ones that you have had to navigate, and how have you?
Everything from this flight is canceled, this bus is delayed, this, you name it, to finding new, different ways around solutions. Of course, all of that. But also, like, with the not knowing how I was going to fund a year-long trip, I did everything from couch surfing, I did local homestays, volunteer positions. If you want something, there is a way to make it happen, as long as you're willing to find a way to make it work. You just sometimes have to look at it from outside the box of, okay, I'm not going to just upfront pay for a year of travel. I'm going to find a different way to make this happen. So I think that has been a huge help in looking at that problem creatively.
Yes. Yeah. Nice. And when you think of like everyday issues that you face, what's an everyday issue that you use creativity to solve?
Even like, I would say even in relationships with others, even in relationships with friends and family, going about things creatively, even being able to inspire that little bit of joy in your relationship with others. How can I make this interaction more meaningful? How can I make this moment more memorable? How can I make this moment the best that it could be? I'm often looking at situations and thinking, okay, how could I make this day, this interaction, this whatever it is better? Whether that's a compliment, helping somebody out in like a small, minute way that has bigger, ripples, that kind of thing.
Nice. Yeah, I like it's kind of that random acts of kindness. That's what it makes me think of, like doing another thing that propels or continues to travel further down the road. Nice.
Right.
Super. Well, I've been asking everyone on the podcast this last question, and I just love hearing everyone's answers. So, what is your secret to creativity?
I would say remaining positive, truly, because I find that when I get down on myself, you build blocks around your creativity. And so whatever it is, however you can get into that really positive mind frame, whether it's putting on your favorite tunes, putting on, an outfit that makes you feel awesome, whatever it is to get in that space where you feel good and happy and confident, that is when I find my creativity just flows like crazy.
I love it.
Like
I love
priming yourself to get in that spot.
Yeah. I turn on my favorite songs and dance around, or when you put on an outfit that you think this is awesome, I feel amazing in it, it really
this is like
inspires you. For sure. Wonderful.
Right.
Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me about creativity. And
my gosh, thank you for having me.
Oh, yay! And if our listeners want to get in touch with you or learn more about what it is and where you are and where you're going, how might they go about doing that?
They could follow my blog, check out some of my travel articles. I list all sorts of ways to start traveling, how to recreate my sort of 2 years around the world, and that's at thewanderlustrose.com.
Thewanderlustrose.com. Great. I'll put that in the show notes. And you're on social media, and we've got that, and we'll put that in
on
there
Facebook
also.
as well, and Instagram at thewanderlust_rose. Yep.
Wonderful. And where are you off to next?
I'm currently doing a road trip around Arizona and New Mexico.
Nice.
But actually, I'll be headed back to Minnesota to do some more trips in my home state, because the more I travel there, the more I realize there is still yet to see. You'd think, oh, I've almost seen it all, but no, you'd find more and more and more. So back to Minnesota for a bit.
Back to Minnesota. That's wonderful. Well, again, thank you so much for chatting. It's been such a pleasure, and it's been great to see you. And I love following all of your adventures. Yes. Thanks for listening to the Sustaining Creativity Podcast. We'd love to keep in touch, so like us on Facebook and Instagram. We are Sustaining Creativity. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Tag your friends and your family so they can listen too. We love to hear from you, so leave your comments, reviews, and questions. Tune in Tuesdays for a new episode. And remember, with creativity, anything's possible.